Okay, this is gold on the weekly scale after quite a surge here over several weeks. As you can see, covering more than $100 in a space of 4 or 5 weeks. The rally stalled. The rally stalled not before giving us actually a plausible structure of 5 waves beginning from here on the daily scale. And that's very, very important. That's very, very important. And in addition to that, what I see here in the last week is basically sideways price action composed of a bunch of ABCs. And in my mind, this is basically a preparation for going higher. The market is not ready to move higher right now. It might require, in my opinion, at least another week, if not two, to consolidate the spectacular gains before it attempts to shoot above the overhead resistance that we have here and potentially go quite a lot higher. So this is the weekly scale. The interpretation of taking this as 5 waves run is very, very bullish. You realize that, because it argues for much higher prices down the road once the correction is over here on the weekly scale. If we come down towards 1310, yeah, well, there is support here. You can see the support on the weekly scale. It's not really a big deal if it comes down towards this level. Right now we closed at 1331, if I'm reading it right. So we dropped by $20 or so in a 2 weeks correction. We drift lower to check the support right here, and consolidating the gains in a tight range is an excellent bullish signal. Okay, and that will prepare the ground for a blast. Now that blast is going to be at least the $100 or so that we have seen here in the last in this big run that you see. So it's going to easily leave behind 1380. It's going to be exciting, absolutely. If we do get this, if this forecast that I am putting forward now comes to pass, it'll definitely be very exciting. It's going to fly above 1400 as if there is nothing going on in 1400. It's going to head towards 1500. Yes. So let's now have a look at the daily and see why I think that it makes sense at this point to treat the run here as one. Do you see I come up here on the daily with this being 1, 2, that's my 3, that's my 4, and that's 5. So some of you might argue, hey, don't you think that that could be an ABC? Yes, that was one of the alternative wave counts that we used. It's not inconceivable, but as such, if we are trying to sort of squeeze it back into the E leg, you remember that triangle, which technically is still possible, that's going to be way too brief in terms of the time scale relating to the D leg that took such a long time. This looks way too brief. So some of you might say, well, okay, you've got an ABC, now you're going to an X, which is composed of lots of ABCs, which is very possible technically, and then you're going to have another drifting higher sort of patchy rally ABC. I'll say, fine, when I get it, then of course I will revise this. I'm taking everything into account. But right now, the sprint run that we have seen here is just way too bullish to be considered as part of a correction. It looks like it's got so much strength, and it came up here to the top, and what it's doing, it's not giving back the gains. It's just going sideways, drawing those tiny ABCs. So my thinking is that the power that pushed it like that is likely to come back when the correction is over, and it's absolutely going to fly above 1400. That appears at this moment. Okay, things could change. I am not writing anything in stone here, and I am very flexible. I will take new events into account. Otherwise, what's the point of the analysis? You just you can say one thing and just leave the whole thing. I mean, you give one forecast and show up after 3 months. No, you have to take the developments into account and try to fine-tune what you're doing. Here is our 60 minutes, and we had a 1, 2, 3, 4. You see, with an A, B, C, D, E. That's 4. That's then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terminated. Oh, that's what we're doing now. We are basically going sideways, which is, as I just suggested, It's very supportive of the interpretation that we will end up with the launching pad here to take it way higher. Now, it's of course very difficult to try to predict which way the next ABC is going to move, in which direction. I suppose that we will see drifting lower at some point, potentially this week, going under 1324. I do not think, according to the interpretation that I present here, you realize I do not think it's ready to do this. But it can definitely do something like that. Just it keeps going, you know, that's going to take quite a bit of time to sort out the selling that is going on at this point, to be absorbed by the buyers who are ready to take gold higher. Okay, here's silver. Now the story of that bearish triangle in the case of silver is alive and well. And the dimensions here should explain to you why. Do you see the scale? Even though I can point my finger and say I've got 5 waves running up here, but in the case of silver, that's simply not a big deal. Sorry, for the simple reason that now in the correction we could drift a bit lower, and even if we come up full scale, something that would resemble the A that we had here, the entire structure of my bearish A, B, C, D, E would be intact, would still be okay. I even told you that the E leg, it could actually flip above this by a bit. That's not going to really kill the whole thing. So in the case of silver, we don't have really a very strong support for a bullish move that will take it there. But I would say that the clue, as far as I can see, the clue would reside in the behavior also of the related markets like the dollar index. We might be searching for bottom in the coming week or two in the dollar index. If the dollar index reverses very sharply, and we are seeing some other pairs correlating sharply with highly with precious metals, we could be talking about a reversal. But as I've shown you last week, the pound yen, do you remember that? The projection overall is that no, it was, I think, the pound we had the pound South African rand. Yes, pound South African rand. So things are actually looking not that bad for the precious metals, meaning that it is likely, silver is likely to break through the top here at 18.5 and continue higher towards 21. But at this point in time, we are basically just looking at the correction, which is in essence, of course, quite bullish. Take a look. This is the 60 minutes of silver. We came up in a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. That's the alternative wave count for now. Ignore it. We came down. There is not really clear-cut wave count here, but it's not inconceivable to suggest that this is in effect a 1, 2, that's 3, that's a 4th wave. Yeah, I know it's awkward. Yeah, I know it looks a bit awkward, but it's technically perfectly possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, touch. Here, that's your A. Okay, and that would imply that silver will come back, will not run above this level, will give you an ABC, so that's your A, that's your B. Prepare for another plunge. Because if you have this as an A, and that's composed of 5 legs, then you have to assume that you're going to have an ABC. You're going to have an ABC, that's your A, that's your B, that's your C, and that, in my opinion, in my reading here, I would suggest that an ABC like that, that would drag on for quite a few weeks, would strongly suggest that silver, after the ABC is over, the silver will fly above 17.4. So that is the game plan for the next 2 weeks.